With me today in studio, a person of interest is Francis Ole Kaparo, the new boss at the NCIC. Before we went on break, we were talking about what is needed, the goodwill you were talking about that the commission needs going forward. But to go to Mohammed's question, who also called us, and he's talking about perhaps integration into the curriculum of more of this cohesion, integration, so that it's learned from a very early age, and even perhaps at home. What is it would be putting and instilling into the curriculum?
Well, I think the Commission, as a matter of fact, has begun in conjunction with the Ministry of Education to develop a curriculum that will bring on board matters that will bring Kenyan children together, things that would...
A quick example, say what?
Well, creation of schools or expansion of schools that would take children from different communities. That already is on course. And I know it will be on course and it will be expanded, and we'll ensure that there will be more children from across Kenya that will be going to schools together, much as it was before. In fact, sometimes, you know, you look back to the past and you regret why we did certain things. I regret even now why we removed Form 5 and 6. That was taking children from different communities to go and learn in other areas. That's one aspect that is already in course. Just the other day also, the government set in motion a process of getting new graduates to go to counties other than their own and teach in primary schools and live with communities that are not of their own community, so that they can learn firsthand how it is living with communities other than your own.
Let's take another caller. Eric, good morning. Eric?
Yes.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yes, Eric?
For his orders, and I just want to put him on a point of order. Mr. Kaparo, I believe that this commission...
Sorry, we need some more volume on that phone. We can barely hear Eric. Yes, Eric?
Yes, I'm saying, I believe that the founders of had a very good commission, and they must have believed that supposed to be an institution, peace and conflict resolution. And one thing that is becoming of it is that it is being infiltrated by people who don't seem to understand the philosophy of its founders. Because, for instance, Mr. Kaparo is rising from a political party and he's occupying a position which is supposed to be neutral. So you realize that it is already biased.
About that, Eric, he says to give him a chance and that he will prove himself going forward. We discussed that with him. Thank you very much for calling. Combo is also on the line. Good morning, Combo.
Good morning. My name is Chirema anyway, it's not Shirema.
Yes.
C-H-I-I-M-A.
It's all right. Go ahead with your contribution. We have your name on screen.
Okay. That's not my name. My name is Combo Chirema anyway.
Thank you, sir. Combo Chirema.
I am Chirema. So I think the problem we're having in this country is very deeply rooted tribalism and ethnicity, which I feel the commission, the Honorable Kaparo is now chairing, needs to come up with strategies to kill that. And this is well elaborated in the political parties you see in this country. You see, ODM, of course, is affiliated to a certain tribal group. Look at Jubilee, affiliated to a certain tribal group. And the URP, where the chair recently was chairing, is affiliated to a certain region, the Rift Valley. And this gives the fear to small tribes like those of us who come from the coastal region. Because we ask ourselves, when are we becoming presidents of this country? Which it doesn't work out, looking at the mathematics of tribalism, on the political arena, based on the political parties that we have here. I think now the great problem the chair has to work out is how to kill tribalism and ethnicity in this country. And it's good that here someone was telling us, was asking about integrating that in the curriculum of education in this country. And again, what is the chair doing? We want a political party situation whereby not each and every Tom, Dick and Harry will be jumping to have a political party in this country.
All right, Kombo, thank you very much. Your point is made. We must continue the discussion. Thank you. And we'll put that to the chair just shortly. But let's first finalize with Mohammed's question. Chairman, he talked about the people in northern Kenya. And here in KTN, we've covered some of those stories where they feel they're not part of the country. And as far as cohesion, integration, making them feel as part of the country, what is it you're going to do to assist and help out with that part of the country?
If by northern Kenya you mean north of the equator, I come from that part. Because I come from north of the equator. And I'm not a stranger to northern Kenya. Yes, indeed, there has been denial of development projects for a long time in northern Kenya. And also other parts of the country. They are not alone in that. There has also been slow development in education, slow development in other infrastructure. It is true that they require massive resources to catch up with the balance of Kenya. But people living in northern Kenya are also their own enemies. Nobody tells them to fight each other like they do. I had the misfortune of, or I don't know whether it's a privilege or a misfortune, to try to reconcile Kenyans at loggerheads and killing one another in Marsabit. And to their credit, they listened to us, and I think they is quiet now. Recently, I was also asked to reconcile in Mandera.
So do you see yourself as NCSC having a role in this conflict?
Of course.
Which is what?
It's part of it. It's part of it. The role is to tell communities you have no business killing one another. And that if you have disagreements, you must sort it out over the table. And that is how civilized society has acted.
But that hasn't worked in the past. We've seen this conflict keep coming back.
If things have not happened in the past, it is no reason, and I repeat, no reason, to continue to say it hasn't happened in the past, and therefore it won't happen. Let's throw our hands in the air.
But doesn't there need to be something different being done? Because it's absurd to do the same thing all the time and imagine a different result will be achieved.
Sophie, that is defeatist. I am saying, bring dialogue to the fore and also bring government force to bear. If people kill one another like it's sport hunting, you must see the strong hand of government telling the people this is unacceptable, and it must be directed to the right persons, not to everybody indiscriminately. You must get the criminals. That is the business of government. And we must mix coercive action of state together with reconciling communities. It isn't good always to be at the war path. You must reconcile as much as you can. And by the way, having experience that I've had in Marsabit, reconciling community, it is possible to reconcile communities without firing a single shot. We have done it. And we can do it, I believe, elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kombo has touched on this, and you mentioned dialogue being what the approach you seek to take as the NCIT to resolve this, the question of the negative ethnicity we see, polarizing politics, and we're seeing the emergence of those dirty politics now. But how is it exactly this dialogue is going to work? Because as you said, this conversation, some haven't worked. The other day, CORD was calling for that same dialogue, which was snubbed, and the government refused to sit at the table with them. So what is it exactly you plan to do, this dialogue that you think will finally sort out how politics have been practiced in Kenya?
Dialogue is a discussion of more than one person. Persons willing to listen and persons willing to speak. You cannot have a dialogue with only one person speaking. That's called monologue. We have to dialogue with one another. And please, there was also something the first caller stated, which I want to go back to. And that is the role of the top political leadership in all this. When you talk about political leadership, you mean both in the government and in the opposition. We need to bring both on board. We must bring the government side on board to give us their political will to do this. We must bring the top opposition leadership on board to understand that it is in their own interest that we have a society that is at peace and cohesive. And to come to the question of the gentleman from the coast, saying, when are we going to be president? You must work for it. You know, this whole idea of saying just the big tribes, wherever they are, that can become president, you know, that can also easily be defeated.
Would you say, you've talked about importance of the national government being able to participate and give you a lot of support. When they did not allow and agree for this dialogue that was called by CORD to sit at the table, do you say at that particular point they failed?
I don't want to get into that political disagreement between CORD and Jubilee.
Because you're insisting dialogue is the way to go. So yes, when the government refuses...
Indeed, you know, there can be dialogue and there can also be forced listening.
Okay.
And those
so that wasn't dialogue.
That's a different potato altogether.
Okay.
You know, you just can't tell me to dialogue, I must listen to you and do everything that you want, and you don't allow me to speak, and you want to do anything that I want.
Our time is running out, sir. But before we move on to the question of ethnic discrimination very quickly, finally, the spectacular thing also about Kenyan politics is that you have intelligent, learned members even of parliament and other elected leaders. But when it comes down to it, they read from the same script, again, that tribal script. Kingpins, one of the callers talked about, is the nature of how politics has been practiced. Is a deep-rooted problem in the country. What is that thing? Yes, you mentioned dialogue, but what else is hope for Kenya going forward?
You know, suspicion is the main thing in Kenya. I went the other day. I was invited the other day to a function to award those Kenyans who have made positive contribution using the social media. And it was a wonderful occasion. And I made a very passionate plea then that all we telling the social media is that we are not coming with a rungu to clobber them to submission. We are asking them to use the social media for productive and cohesive activities. And the others stand it around and say, now that the government has subdued the print and television media, now they are coming to the social media to subdue us again. I think it's the wrong attitude. What I would like to ask Kenyans is that there must be a break to what has been. If we really want to be a society that can exist, we must break what we have done badly in the past.
Okay.
And what we have done badly in the past is giving prominence to things that are not justifiable. It is not justifiable that you should reward people simply because of tribe. It is not justifiable that you should reward mediocrity because that person comes from your religion or your tribe or your community or your relative. You must stop that. Okay. We must begin a process of national healing, a process of breaking these very hard tendencies that we have acquired over time. It is going to be difficult, but it must be done.
CORD, Okoa Kenya, in the referendum push, is proposing a quota system to help deal with the problem of inclusivity in public service. It is alleged that in some of these offices and sectors, you have two tribes dominating in as far as staff. Do you agree with that perhaps we need to go into a quota system, some form of affirmative action to deal with this disparity so that you have integration, more people involved in serving in public service?
Sophie, isn't that already in the Constitution?
Already there are disparities. There are reports.
Yes, they are.
Yes,
they are.
Why isn't that then?
You see, we already have, you see, the problem with Kenya is not the laws.
What is
we have always had too many laws. Even in the old constitution, which we discarded, a lot of it was good. Our problem is applying the application of the laws, misapplication of the laws, or ignoring the law altogether. And it does not matter who it is that does it. Those shouting at the top of the hills right now, given a chance, they will do the same. I'm telling you, when they are in power, they bring their communities to their offices. And they forget one thing, that we have, in fact, NCIC did an audit of government the other day, 1 year ago, 2 years ago. And we have a record of every government department and office, how it was constituted. And we know that nobody really is clean in this. Those in power are not clean.
Now, so how do you resolve that
have
problem?
Never been clean.
So how do you resolve it?
We make it unpopular. We make it unpopular. The law already says, you know, for example, not a particular community should occupy a blah blah so much percentage in any particular area. But don't forget also that all communities in Kenya are not the same in number. So you must give them possessions in proportion to their numbers.
So quota system, no.
I don't know what quota system means.
Perhaps 30% to the smaller tribes, reserved for the smaller tribes in the country.
When I come from the smaller tribes, let me tell you, it is easier said than done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
by the way, the smaller tribes together, combined, they are the majority.
Finally, I have to ask you this. Our next discussion will be focusing on the ICC, the president's speech yesterday. But years on, almost 7 now, the local mechanisms that did not work because of the failures of the last parliament. Now many critics will say that most of these cases as they look are falling apart. Do you believe that there will ever be justice for the victims, and will it be seen to be done for the victims of the post-election violence?
And you can't have justice if you took the wrong scale. If you, for example, apprehended wrong persons and accuse them in court without evidence and hope that they'll be convicted, in ordinary life it won't. So I think justice must have been begun from the beginning. They should have done.
How do you qualify that they were wrong, the suspects, before the court?
What?
How do you qualify what you're saying?
Well, they are saying it themselves. I'm not the one saying. I'm saying
the DP's case is still ongoing. This one, we are waiting to see tomorrow if it will continue or not.
Listen, the prosecutor herself said he doesn't have the evidence against the other fellows. I also read newspapers. I watch TV. I hear witnesses say, I lied.
So in your opinion, the wrong people. So for that, there will not be justice.
Maybe the wrong people.
Okay.
If we really wanted justice, we must have a credible investigation should have been done at the very beginning.
Okay.
And they should have brought to court all those responsible for for killing Kenyans and for destroying property. Let them face the law. But there must be based on the law, not on political convenience.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you too.
It was a pleasure. Francis Ole Kaparo,
Thank
new
you.
boss chair of the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. All the best, Nakazi Hapo.
Thank you.
All right.